Hi, this is Diane Lovetobake, and what we're going to make are chocolate cherry nut rolls or buns. They're really easy to make, and they taste fantastic. You can, if you don't want to use dried cherries, you could use dried cranberries. You could use whatever dried fruit that you prefer. Well, first off, I want to give you the recipe. I made the dough for these rolls in my bread maker on the dough cycle. Of course, you can make them by hand if you prefer. I just find that it's a lot easier for me, and I prefer to do it that way. So here's the recipe. Everything of the ingredients and the instructions will be below the video. Now you're going to need 2/3 cup of milk, and you'll want that at least at 110 degrees Fahrenheit. 1 beaten egg, 1/4 cup of water. And what I do is I put my water and my milk together and heat it together. Also, you're going to be using 2 tablespoons of honey, whatever brand that you prefer. 2 tablespoons of butter or margarine. I tend to melt mine and I allow it then to cool. You also going to need 3 cups of bread flour. Now I always get questions, can I use regular flour? Well, when I make this recipe, it calls for bread flour, and I've only used bread flour. So I know the results that you're going to see in just a few minutes is from using bread flour. You're going to need 3/4 teaspoon of salt and 1 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast. Now, as far as the nuts, you can use 1/2 cup of chopped hazelnuts or walnuts or pecans, whatever type of nut that you prefer. And then you're going to need 1/2 cup of your dried cherries or your dried fruit of your choice. And then also put in 1/3 cup of your chocolate pieces or your miniature semi-sweet chocolate chips or pieces of chocolate in it too, because that's what's going to make it have, of course, that chocolate flavor. All right, I'm going to take the dough out of the bread maker. Now this is going to be half. So you're seeing half of the dough, all right? I usually get about 16 rolls out of this dough. It's quite easy to work with. It isn't real, sticky or that kind of thing. Just put a little flour on your countertop. You don't want a lot of flour because you don't want to make these buns or rolls tough. I also like to weigh all mine so that they bake up relatively all the same and they come out the same as well. And I generally get about 2.1 ounce of these rolls, and I think it's a nice size when they do bake up, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to put one on my scale here, okay, and measure it. Okay, that's exactly 2.1. Now you all have different ways of rolling your rolls or your buns. I tend to just pinch them all together towards the center, push it down, and then just roll it up in a ball in my hands, in the palms of my hands. Now what you're going to do is you'll want a greased baking pan or use your parchment paper. You're going to place your rolls, separate them, don't put them on top of one another. Let's do one more now. 2.1, and again I got 16 out of 2.1 ounces, okay, of these rolls, okay. And again, I just push all my dough together, pinch it all together towards the bottom, like that, and then I just push it in with my index finger and finish up by rolling in the palms of my hands. I'm sure you have your way of doing it, and then, of course, you're going to feel free to roll it the way that you prefer. And again, I separate my rolls. I don't put them on top of one another. Now, once you get done, I'm going to just set this aside for the moment. When you get done rolling all your rolls, then of course take a clean kitchen terry towel and cover your rolls till they're double in size. Depending on the temperature of your kitchen, it might take a half hour, 45 minutes, even an hour. But you do want them to double. Once they double, bake them at 350, and they could take you anywhere from 12 minutes to 18 minutes. It really depends on, because you know our ovens all set up so differently. So start watching them early and watching them very closely, okay? So remember, they do have to rise once you cut them and roll them. Now I'm going to rinse my hands real quick because I don't want to touch the rolls with my hands that have raw egg. Okay. Now this is how they're going to bake up. Now another thing that you can do, it's optional if you don't want to do it. These rolls are absolutely delicious. What I like to do is after I bake them, I place them on a cooling rack, and once they cool down just a little bit, I take additional chocolate, or you can use chocolate chips, about a half a cup to maybe 3/4 of a tablespoon of a shortening or butter or whatever you want to do in a bowl. I microwave it, and then I actually dip the sweet rolls or sweet buns into the chocolate. So I'm going to show you now one and cut it open so that you can, you'll get a better idea of what they're going to look like. Okay, so let me grab my knife here. Well, let's cut this one. Let's cut this little smaller one. Okay. Now once you cut them open, you'll see the nice chocolate color, you'll see your nuts and your dried fruit, and then that beautiful coating of chocolate on the outside. These rolls are not real dense or real heavy, so don't work with the dough for a very long time. Now you can, of course, just eat these alone. You don't have to dip them in chocolate as I did. Some people want to just put maybe a powdered sugar glaze. Take your powdered sugar with a little milk or water and cover them with that. They're great toasted without the sugar, of course, and without the chocolate on them. We've served them for breakfast in the toaster or just warm out of the microwave. They really are delicious sweet rolls or buns. Well, there you have it. I want to thank you for watching Diane Lovetobake. Also, as a reminder, my videos are only shown on YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you try this recipe and you like it, well, leave a comment, because I always like to hear from you. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.